I'm going to start with the why. Hey, why do we have Section 1071? Hey, why do we have that regulation? Well, the law says that this was brought to us to facilitate enforcement of fair lending. And I don't think that's going to change with a regulation rewrite, because that's what the law says. It also has that we want to create and enable businesses, communities, creditors to provide opportunities and better meet the needs. And so I don't think the why is something that we'll see a whole lot of change, but that's what's in the law. If you recall the regulation, the A1 and A2, it's verbatim in the regulation. They just took that right out of the law and they baked it right into the regulation, almost verbatim. So there really isn't any sort of overreach there. More on that here in a bit. Definition of a financial institution. So this is kind of interesting. They give this kind of list of partnerships, companies, et cetera, engages in any financial activity. Mind you, there's no exemptions, no thresholds in the law. Those don't occur until we get to the regulation. So the law is actually very broad here. And so when we take a look at the regulation a little bit later on, you're going to find that they actually narrowed it when they wrote the regulation, as opposed to just saying, hey, it's everybody that does financial activity. They actually narrowed that down. Letter C, small businesses. So very broad definition here as well. And this is one where we're going to need some help, I think. The regulation obviously tried to do some things here. We'll chat more about that later, but it left it at the SBA's definition of a small business of concern. That's really broad. And if you've ever looked into SBA, many of you probably have, their definitions depend on the type of business. It's really complicated. I'll just kind of leave it at that. We're kind of glad they narrowed it with the way they wrote the regulation, but I think there still needs to be some adjustments there. Again, we'll talk more about that later, but that's the definition. That's all we get. By the way, this is verbatim all out of the regulation here. This is what you get. Or I'm sorry, verbatim out of the law. This is what you get. This is what we have to work with here. So this is what's absolute. Let's go on. Let's go to the covered applications and reportable transactions. Talks about any application for a women or minority owned or small business. That's what you get. The CFPB actually pared that down and tried to make it a little less than everything that would be a women or minority owned or small business. But in doing so, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, they kind of complicated matters by giving us some exceptions. But that's what the law says as far as covered applications.